students who come and take our program, you may recognize yourself or your situation in one of these slides, but a lot of our students are actually recent grads. So we have people who have finished an undergraduate degree already, and they're looking for their next step. Obviously, this past year has not been the ideal time, unfortunately, for people who are entering the job market, especially if you don't have a ton of hands-on experience. So a lot of these students are joining us at Lighthouse so that they can get some of that experience here and be able to build their portfolios, get some technical hands-on skills, and then move into another role. So a lot of them might have taken like a course or two in university, maybe touched on coding a little bit, maybe got interested in data science, and then they're just coming here to further their education and really get into a specific industry a little bit more. We also have, we also have career changers and adult learners as a huge group of students. So these are people who they have post-secondary education. They also usually have several years of professional work experience as well. And often they're just looking for a complete 180. Particularly in the last year, we have seen a rise in students from industries that used to be, very secure jobs, things like the aviation industry, hospitality, tourism, oil and gas, even the music industry. So we've seen a huge, transition for lots of people from the pandemic after job loss, or their industry has really been affected, and then they've come to join us in order to reskill and get a job where there's potentially more availability these days, which remote work, particularly, anything that is digital is really going to be something that is in demand right now. Okay, so we offer a couple of different types of programs. So right now, all of our programs are being delivered online. So it's going to be, of course, a little different to this. You're going to have a web developer or a data scientist in front of you instead of myself, but it will be, it'll still involve Zoom calls and other kind of virtual meetings with people, both your instructors and mentors and other students in your class. So for the intro programs, these are a really good way for someone who is curious about web development or data analytics to get, a little bit of knowledge in a shorter amount of time, a lower time commitment than our full-time programs, certainly. And you're just really able to get those intro skills. We have intro to web development, we have introduction to front end with JavaScript, and then we also have an intro to data analytics course. I would say with these programs, the goal for students is often to kind of upskill a little bit, adding some skills onto your toolkit, and then maybe being able to kind of take on more responsibilities at work or add some key pieces to your, like your portfolio potentially. However, these courses are not designed to completely move someone into a new career. So they are just that intro, there's 3-hour classes, 2 nights per week. So it's a little bit less of a time commitment, but also a slightly different outcome than our full-time boot camps. For our full-time programs, these are also all online, as I mentioned, and these are really for people who are looking to completely transition into a new career. So that could be either our web development bootcamp or our data science bootcamp. And these are intense courses. I think, the 2 grads that we have here will definitely attest to that. They are definitely a really intense experience. We cover a lot over those 12 weeks. With any boot camp, you're definitely going to see that there is a lot of curriculum covered in a short amount of time. Ours, I'd say, is maybe even more intense than any of the other ones that I've seen, because it is a Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. commitment. Plus, you're going to have extra work on the weekends as well. So it really is, for the 3 months that you're in the course, it is just a full on, it's like having a full-time job and having a part-time job, but all of it is just being in boot camp. But with that, we do also see some really good results after the program. And this is the structure that we've seen to have kind of the most success for students who are coming in without a lot of prior knowledge, who are trying to transition and get into a new job after. There is also a 70-hour prep module for both courses that has to be completed at least a week before you start in the program. And you will have access to mentor support in our course. So you'll have a lecture with your class. Those are happening most days. And then the rest of the time, as you're working through kind of a lot of independent studies, some group work as well, you will have access to mentor support. Again, it's virtually. We have a queue system where you can like virtually raise your hand, and then someone will be able to hop on a call with you and assist with, you know, the issue that you're having, any kind of roadblock that you've gotten into. We run in an interactive online format. So it's not just looking at like pre-recorded lectures and anything that, you know, you can just do whenever you want, that you have no interaction with other students or other people. Our course is designed to really mimic the experience that we had in the classroom, but just doing it online. So for instance, our admissions process is run completely online through videos, through phone calls, and through email. And then also we have all of our lectures run online as well. And that mentorship piece in the class with, you know, with the other students that are in your class. We also use fun tools like Slack, we use Discord, and we have a lot of different ways of connecting students together. I think one of the coolest things that I have personally seen in this new format where we are running everything online live is just that students are still able to build such a community with each other, even though, you know, like everyone who's here right now, you're just sitting alone in your house. It really does go to show that students kind of band together and they still collaborate and still are there for each other throughout the course, even when you're not, you know, physically sitting next to someone. So web development, I'm just going to go into it in a little bit more detail. If you are here wondering about the data science program, don't worry, we will talk about that in a little bit more detail as well. So for web development, again, it's a 12-week boot camp. There are lots of hours that you're putting in per week. There's that prep module, and then we have an 8-to-1 mentor ratio as well. So the goal of this program really is to transform people into those entry-level developer jobs after they have graduated from the program, even if they have, you know, very basic levels of coding experience coming into it. You are going to learn a whole bunch of different things in this program. So really the way that we've set it up is with that end goal of finding employment after you graduate. So you definitely are going to learn like a wide variety of languages and kind of different things that you'll need in order to tick off those boxes as you're applying for jobs and be able to, you know, get those interviews that you're after and be able to succeed when you get into that first job. Sorry, if anyone's not muted, could you please mute yourself? Okay, there we go. Everyone's taken care of. Okay, so we do kind of track, you know, our student progress as you're going along in the program. Of course, you know, there are so many things happening and the pace of your study is a very intense pace. So there is going to be, you know, mentorship along the way as needed. You will have, you know, self quizzes that you do throughout this program. There are going to be tests. And then we also do code reviews, and there are going to be opportunities to do kind of like mock technical assessments, which is something that you'll need in the application process as you go forward and try and look for jobs as well. So learning objectives, by the end of this program, we're really looking for students to have a professional portfolio of their work. So with this, you know, you will get the opportunity at the end of the program to actually present your final project to employers, to friends and family, or to prospective students. So anyone here, you're totally invited to come along and watch our next demo day. That's a really great way to see what the students are capable of completing after they've finished our course. And for that digital demo day, it is going to be a group project. So With that, you're spending kind of the last few weeks of the program working on this project and then presenting it in front of everyone. It's a great way to kind of celebrate everything that you've learned in the program and also, putting yourself in front of potential employers as well, which can be really exciting. So for data science, just going to kind of go through a few things about that course as well. Definitely, a similar structure in terms of the time commitment with this bootcamp to the web development bootcamp. Similar experience when it comes to prep and also with that mentor ratio as well. So data science is something that has really like taken the world by storm. If you, Google either data science or web development, which is something I really encourage all of you to do, look at the job postings for your area or look at remote jobs as well. So if you look at data science, like there are a ton of positions generally that are open in this field. It's something where we really saw there was a skill gap. So when we started this program, it actually was started last summer. So it did start during the pandemic. We've never run it in person thus far. We really saw that there were lots of job opportunities and that there wasn't as easy of a way for people to break into the industry. So in terms of like what experience you needed to become a data scientist, there wasn't a really good like way to get there for a lot of people. So lots of those jobs were kind of going unfilled. And we saw that as an opportunity to really train people specifically in this area and be able to get them into those jobs. So that's why we created the program. And so far we are seeing a lot of success for our students as they graduate from this course as well, which has been very exciting. Candidates are going to learn, a ton of different things as well about data science. So we cover a lot of different parts of that industry. We want to, again, train you to be able to feel confident and comfortable going into those entry-level roles after you graduate from the course. And again, the prep work is going to go over some of this as well. So you'll get a little bit of a taste of it along the way. We also cover Python in this course as well. So student, again, you're going to be able to have kind of assessments throughout the course and be able to check in and see how you're doing. Again, very similar to the web development program in that respect. And with the learning objective, again, it's quite similar where we are looking to be able to get people into those entry-level positions after they successfully complete the program. So how do we do that? With career services, we actually have an option for both of these programs where students can choose to be job seekers. And in that sense, in that case, you will get career services support. So if you have chosen that you want career services support from the program, you will get a couple of additional things. You will actually have full support from our career services team. It really is a partnership. So students are going to be working together with the career services team. They will get some coaching. They will get some interview training. They're going to get their resumes reviewed. And then the career services team, at the same time that you're applying for jobs, they are going to actually be sending out your resume to different employers. They do need you to keep in touch with them, continue coding or continue working on your projects. That part is really important. Employers hate it when they just see that the last thing a student did was like when they were in boot camp. You have to kind of keep working on that after you finish the program. And as long as you are meeting their requirements, they will actually be potentially booking interviews for you. And again, like reaching out to employers who are hiring on your behalf. With that, we are seeing huge success with students being able to find jobs in their industry after they graduate from the program. And what we are typically seeing is that within a 6-month time period, people are able to transition into their first entry-level job after they've graduated from this course. There is also an option for people who identify as non-job seekers to just like forego this portion where you get career services. So if you are, an entrepreneur, potentially you're going to be starting your own business and not looking for a full-time job. If you are an international student and maybe you are not legally allowed to work in Canada full-time after the program is over. Or sometimes people get sent to our programs by their companies, so they actually have a job waiting for them at the other end. Those would be some cases where you decided to come in as a non-job seeker. And yeah, that is also totally fine, but we do see the majority of our students are looking to transition their careers. Admissions process. So this is a really important part. Obviously, this is where you're going to be potentially interacting with myself and with my team throughout this process. So we have a few different steps. First of all, you apply. So some of you may have already applied online. If you haven't, it's really easy. It's just kind of in the top corner of all of our website. You can click that apply button. You just have to, give us a little bit of information, and then we'll be able to see your online application. You'll also be able to book in for a group interview, which is the next step. That is going to feel kind of similar to this, I guess, where we talk about the program itself. You can also ask any questions if you need to know anything else, if anything wasn't made clear, wasn't covered. And we do get to know you in the group interview as well. So I guess kind of like unlike this scenario, everyone will be on camera. Everyone will be, talking about their background, their work experience, anything else that they want us to know. And then after that group interview, people who are successful and are moving on to the next step are going to be able to complete a logic quiz and a technical assessment. So these two tests, they're both done online. We send you the links to them, and then you're able to complete them on your own time within a 2-week period. The logic quiz, you don't have to study for. And then the technical assessment, that one does require some studying. For the web development program, it's going to be on JavaScript. For the data science program, it's going to be on Python. Don't worry. Those two languages, if you've never used them before, you're not familiar, we do send you everything that you need to study in order to be successful. And it will probably just take you like between 6 and 8 hours to get through that work in order to successfully pass the test. From there, we will give an admissions decision. So once you've done the test, you actually get notified, and then within like 1 or 2 business days, we'll be able to get back to you with an admissions decision. Hopefully, the outcome is good. You've been accepted into the program. And if that is the case, then we will send a link in order for you to pay your deposit to the program. And once everything is good to go, we also will be able to send you a link. You'll have the link to the prep already. Once you've paid your deposit, you get a login into our prep forum where you can ask any questions if you have them. And then from there, it's really just completing that prep before you're able to start in the course. So what are we looking for? What kind of students do we want in these programs? Overall, I'd say we're looking for people who are really passionate about learning how to become a web developer or a data scientist. Obviously, with a structure that is as intense and hands-on as these courses are, we really want to make sure that students are going to be able to kind of be in it for the long run, that they're going to succeed in the course. So for data science, we're also looking for some aptitude in math. Really with this course, like there is math background is very, very helpful. We have a lot of people who are like kind of from the STEM field who end up coming and taking our program. And then with the web development, we do ask about previous coding experience. So we love it when students have done some online learning or maybe have taken like a course or two, maybe in university, maybe just on their own online. Those are all kind of great things. Again, not required, like we will talk to you throughout the admissions process and get a feel for where you're at. But if you're trying to prepare coming into an admissions interview, or even just to kind of prepare for that application, I would highly recommend that for both sets of students, you really try things out on your own online. There are tons of great free resources to use, including some that are just free courses on our website as well. For the student onboarding, really the prep modules are our main focus. Those need to be completed 1 week before your class starts. And then tuition and your student contracts need to be in 2 weeks before the program starts as well. So key dates for these programs, obviously we do have some courses coming up. For our boot camps, we would ideally have you apply 6 to 10 weeks before your intended start date. We have our start dates posted into the fall on our website, and planning ahead is always a good thing. With the prep modules, for sure, you want to make sure that you leave yourself some time for that as well. And then your kind of second last day of class is going to be the demo day usually. In terms of start dates, so both for web development and data science, we run quite a lot of start dates. So you'll be able to see here, we have start dates coming up in April, May, June, July, August, and September. So really you get to kind of pick between all of those. We do also have an exciting program that will be launching soon. That is our Web Flex program, where the hours are a little bit different. So if the intense bootcamp schedule seems like it is not going to be the best fit for, your life, your responsibilities, keep an eye out for that, because there will be, another option where you can take the course in a slightly less intense schedule as well, coming up in the future. So thank you, everyone. It was great chatting with you all about the boot camps in more detail. I am going to stop sharing my screen now so that I can see the chat, and then we can answer any questions before, I kind of pass things off if there are questions for Carly or Emily. Okay, so I see there's lots of things happening in the chat. Did anyone have questions that they just wanted to ask us? If you do have questions, feel free, take yourself off mute, and then, yeah, I'd be happy to try and answer any of them. Don't be shy. You can also ask them in the chat too if you don't want to take yourself off mute.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So basically, with regards to going into the programs, I have very little knowledge when it comes to any source of coding whatsoever. So would it be recommended to do probably like the part-time classes before going into the boot camp, or is it fairly straightforward to just jump right into it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and actually something I know a lot of people wonder about. I would say the path to bootcamp doesn't necessarily have to include one of our introductory classes. For students who have never coded before, and if you're just kind of trying to figure out if it's something that you enjoy doing, I think that it's totally fair to want to take like a shorter intro course ahead of time. Also, doing that learning yourself online can kind of have a similar effect, just in terms of figuring out, like, is this something that you really want to do? Will you enjoy it? Is it something that you have to spend 3 months of your life doing for the vast majority of your waking hours? So I think kind of either option is potentially something that could work for a student. Definitely had students who take our intro courses and then move in time boot camps. I would kind of just caution that of the intro course is very different than camp. So expect to kind of the way that the teaching style is at Lighthouse, and get a good introductory, lesson on web development or even data analysis. But at the same time, it won't be, the same as taking a boot camp. It's going to be, a lot less intense, of course, in and of itself. So I think people can be successful just going into the boot camp. The prep is also supposed to be that as well. And with our intro courses, a linear step of like going over the prep. It really is like learning some of the things that we will again cover in boot camp.
Okay. Just another quick one. Does OSAP or any program that would be kind of like that for anyone who's either international or things like that, can that apply towards the tuition, or is it kind of it would have to be something out of pocket kind of scenario?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't qualify for OSAP yet. For anyone who is in British Columbia or Alberta, we do have approval for BC student aid and Alberta student aid. Unfortunately, the process in Ontario is something that we're still going through. It's possible we will have it in the future. We're just not currently approved, unfortunately.
Okay, and I have just one more more question. With regards to maybe computers that would be used, because I know that there's a lot of people who tend to like Apple products more than Windows and things along those lines. What would be recommended for use in these programs?
Yeah, so we can just share in the chat a link to exactly where we have that on our website, because there are kind of different requirements for data science and for the web development course. For web development, we do recommend that people come in with a Mac computer, or that they have Linux, which it tends to be a little bit of a more affordable option. The reason why we have that is because you will have to set up your computer, and if you're not super knowledgeable about kind of tech and development specifically, it can cause lots of issues. If you're trying to kind of like boot your computer, that's a Windows, you'll have to kind of install, there's like a virtual machine that you have to install, lots of different things going on. So the path of least resistance really is a Mac or a Linux computer. If you would like to try on the computer that you have, that is say like a Windows computer, you can certainly attempt to install everything. And if you can make it work, you could use that for the course. It just, again, can cause some issues, particularly if your instructors are all like on Macs, that they might not be able to troubleshoot things quite the same way if you're having issues like with that setup.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. I have another question that just was sent to me in a message that was about how many mentors we have. So that's a great question. And it's not something that is going to be consistent from cohort to cohort. It's based on the size of our classes. So what we do is we actually have that ratio that we go by, and then we add mentors depending on the size of our class. So we always are going to add, more mentors on if we have more students in the class, and potentially, if there's less students, we would just keep that same ratio and we wouldn't have to have quite as many people. So there's a list like on our website that you can see kind of all of our mentors and our instructors. And from there, you'll have a variety of those mentors. The mentors do support students from across Canada. So you will get to work with mentors that are in each of the provinces. And yeah, it will just vary depending on, how many people are in your class. Okay, does anyone have any other questions?
Yes, I have another question. Is there any recommendation for young students, like, high school, grade 10, 11, or 12?
Yeah, so if you are below the age of majority in your province, you will be required to have a high school diploma. But if you are above the age of majority in the province in which you're applying in, you can apply. It's more like a mature student, so you don't have to have those requirements.
Thank you.
Okay. How many graduates have found work outside of Canada? We have had a couple of people get hired in the States, but I would say the vast majority of our students are finding work within Canada. Could be remote, or it could be in-person work. But right now our largest network is we're a Canadian company. We've had only campuses within Canada thus far. So it's definitely going to be within our country, most likely, is where we will be able to help connect you with work. And the tuition, yes, for the boot camps, the tuition will depend on if you are taking the career services, the job seeker option, or the non-job seeker option. For non-job seekers, it's $9,500. For job seekers, it is $13,000. And then the course tuition for the part-time courses, it does vary between each of the courses. So all of that information is just going to be up on our website as well. Okay, does anyone have other things that they are wondering? And also potentially questions for Carly and Emily, who are here, who are alumni from our courses.
Hello, I have a question. In the presentation, there was information that it's 8 hours per day plus, and then you mentioned that it's 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. So because, you know, like 9 a.m. till 9 p.m., it's not 8 hours. So I understand that we need to put in more time than just 8 hours. So how does the day looks? How does the day look? Is it just towards the end of the day? Is it just the time for our own coding, or how does it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, with the day, the way that it's structured, you will be required to be working for those 12 hours to kind of commit that full time to the boot camp. There could be days when it's not, you know, you finish your work a little bit ahead of time, but for the most part, students will work that much in the course. With, you know, those extra hours, it's really going to be going into your independent learning. You'll have kind of your lecture during typically kind of the morning portion of your day. That's about 2 hours. And then each day you'll also have work assigned to you. So you'll have to kind of get through specific things each day, Monday through Friday. And then over the weekend, you could have other assigned work as well. Talking about day-to-day school stuff, I just wanted to also get Carly and Emily to introduce themselves. So Carly took our data science program and Emily took our web development program. Maybe if you could each introduce yourself. Carly, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure, yeah. So, yep, I'm Carly. I took the data science boot camp that started in the summer, and to answer the previous question about how much time it is, it's definitely 12 hours a day, like without breaking a sweat. So I'd be prepared for that. Definitely not 8 hours a day, and then it's 6 days a week. So on that sixth day, it's anywhere between 4 and 6 hours, I would say. Yeah, I'm consulting now, so it totally allowed me to pivot from what I was doing before as a product development engineer. And I'm currently working remotely, and I have clients that are within Canada and the US.
Amazing. Thank you. Emily, how about yourself?
Hi, I'm Emily. I took the web development bootcamp. I'm trying to remember. It was late August through to November, and I actually was hired out of our demo day. Myself and my teammates all went to a startup local to Toronto, and I was there for about 6 months before I got an internship with Firefox, which is where I am now. So I went from that internship into a front-end development position, and that's what I do every day. As far as the daily schedule for the web development, it was a lot like what Sam said, where it's usually lecture style, sort of interactive lecture in the morning. We would take usually a short break for lunch and then come back and start work on the assigned tasks for the day. And it really does depend. Some days are a lot heavier than others. Some days have many, many small tasks. Some have much larger tasks broken into, you know, a day or 2 or 3. And it depends on yourself, how quickly you go through those daily assigned things. And then there will always be further goals at the end of the day. So if you get done and it's only 5 p.m. and you still have your mentor available for the next 4 hours, because that's really, for us, that's what the 9 to 9 was. It's like, that's the window where your mentors will be around and actively helping you. You know, you could spend that time stretching yourself and either doing suggested stretch goals or reading or other, you know, code sandbox kind of things. So it does. And, you know, for me personally, I came with a little bit of background. So I sometimes got to those stretch goals. I had some cohort classmates who, you know, took part of a CS degree. And so they were off into that stuff, you know, before we were done lunch, it felt like they were off into that stuff. So it's really self-directed in terms of how much time you spend on what portion, but it is the whole day. But I mean, I found it super energizing and awesome. So it's the whole day, but it's not like an exhausting day. You're self-directed, so you have time to take breaks when you need it, you know, eat, stuff like that. You're not going to be nose to the grindstone for 12 hours.
Sorry, I didn't hear. What path did you take, Emily?
I took the web development. So I actually took the intro to web development beforehand. So that was the 6 weeks in the evenings, and then did prep work that summer and started the full-time web development bootcamp at the end of August, which ran August to November.
Emily, did you find that taking the part-time was, sorry, I don't know if I'm talking over someone. Did you find that taking the part-time was helpful? And if you had to go back and do it again, would you have skipped the part-time, taken more prep courses in your free time, gone straight to the bootcamp, or if you can speak a little bit to that, please?
For me, the part-time was super valuable. I was teaching. I had absolutely no, and I was basically teaching and like coding in my spare time and like helping the kids. We had a robotics club at the school I was working at, so it was like sometimes I got to do that. But I had no idea if it was something I actually wanted to do all the time. And so the part-time for me was I taught just outside of Toronto, and then on those evenings would rush down into downtown for 6 p.m. and then do 6 to 9 p.m. and realized that I was enjoying it so much that I didn't even care that I was up so late, by the time I got back home. And so that for me was a real light bulb moment of, wow, I really enjoy this so much that I can do it all the time. I don't know if I would have been brave enough, to be totally honest with you, to just drop my job and then go into the full-time boot camp. So it was really valuable for me that way. I think in terms of the, it's a very guided project, the part-time. So it's not going to give you, a huge foundation. It's really a taste, and it's a taste of the style and what you get lots of little looks at different parts of the process of web development. So which parts do I enjoy? What drives me crazy? Can I learn this way? That for me was super valuable. Yeah.
Oh, could I ask a question as well? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for all that. Yes, I'm looking at hopefully getting into the full-time boot camp at the end of the month. They're thinking of fast tracking me if I can manage to pass that entrance test. So I'm getting ready for that. But in the meantime, I have a couple of questions about the curriculum itself. It's very exciting. And I also noticed, though, that there's both React and Ruby frameworks listed. And I'm wondering what the weighting is between those two frameworks. Is it more heavily towards React or towards Ruby?
So Emily, you can go.
I was saying, you go ahead. I was just going to say, I'm trying to remember. I remember it as being about half and half. It was more Ruby towards the end. So,
yes.
And did you find that the demand for Ruby was or is as prominent as that for React as your knowledge base?
it probably depends where you apply. The startup I worked at immediately after Lighthouse was all Ruby. And then currently now I'm working in JavaScript and React. So everybody's going to use something. I've got, like, in my current job, there are sections of our code base written in Ruby too. It just depends what you get hired to do, but it's also pretty transferable.
Okay. Well, and of course that's good to know. Because of course without having the knowledge, I'm just Googling all the time, right, and trying to figure out what people are looking for. What's the latest thing? And it seems, you hear React a lot. It just seems to be everything right now. I not that Ruby isn't huge, but I just wondered if there is a defined split between them. Like same thing as the database. I see it's SQL that's being highlighted on the curriculum. But of course, you always keep hearing about this MERN stack and the Mongo database SQL lists, I guess they call it. No SQL, and it seems like your curriculum pretty much teaches the MERN stack except for the Mongo component.
Sam, I don't know if you can maybe answer this part because I don't know if the current curriculum has changed at all. We actually did address Mongo it was brief, but it was there.
Okay.
And as far as like really for languages, there's a couple of different, big, you're not going to be able to just flip a switch and go from like a C language to JavaScript. That would be very difficult and upsetting. But from JavaScript to Ruby, React can also be based on Ruby. Like they're all just slightly different approaches to the same thing, and you can learn. And if you have the learning skills, which you will definitely get out of bootcamp, how do I learn this? You can pick up a new language pretty comfortably. So as you're applying for jobs, you can say, well, I have experience with this stack, but I'm willing to learn a new one. And most good employers will understand that and be willing to help you with that.
Well, great. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat, but it is still in the course, Emily. So yeah, you're all correct on that.
What other tools do you use? Do you use GitHub or Visual Studio?
Lots of GitHub for sure in web development. Emily, you can speak more to
that. We did. GitHub does this thing where it like tracks your contributions. Mine is a sort of hilarious graph because it was like nothing and then a ton during Lighthouse and then slowly trickled off and then spiked up again. And now in my current work, we're doing our best to move all of our stuff off of GitHub into our own proprietary stuff, but you will use it a lot. Visual Studio, I don't personally use. Most of my coworkers do. I'm a weirdo. I like Sublime. You'll find the tools that work for you. And generally, I find that when you get into a job, they'll tell you, oh, here's the basket of things that we use, and it's easiest for you if you also use those things, but not necessarily mandatory. So yeah, you'll find the stuff that you like and that works for you.
Thank you. This next question is for Sam. Sam, I'm over in the US. Does the certification also transfer over to US? Is it accepted in the US, the certification for this?
So we've definitely had some US students, particularly in the last year since we've been online, come and take the course. So I think it's definitely an option. In terms of career services, we just don't have a super robust career services option for the States currently. We've had, a couple of people find employment there after the course. But it's definitely, not as big as what we are able to offer in Canada, like not nearly as big. That is our full focus. So in terms of finding employment after the program, I would probably recommend that you picked the non-job seeker option just because we aren't going to have a lot of assistance for you after the course. But I would say that the curriculum that we have, it certainly is relevant in lots of other places, including including the States. And you will still have, a diploma of web development after you've completed the course or in data science. So I think that can be effective in getting you a job in America as well.
Yes, thank you very much.
I had a question with regards to what would be, and Emily and Carly, I would actually love both of your inputs in this as well. What would be the different kind of jobs that you get through web development, and then what would be the different jobs that you get through data science?
So most of the jobs you're going to get after the bootcamp are going to be like an entry level position. So for web development, like I'd say junior web developer, we have a full stack program, so it could be front end or back end focused as well. And then from the data science program, we're seeing a lot of people go into, again, like junior data science roles. With also, there's like people who have gone specifically into machine learning or going into like a senior data analyst role. Emily and Carly, feel free to speak up if you have any other insights to that.
Yeah, I think it totally depends on your experience coming into the boot camp. So, whether you're a new grad or what you're looking for as well. Like personally, I was an engineer for 7 years, working in product development and things like that. So I was able to sort of dovetail the boot camp experience in with my other experience that I had. So I was able to get a little bit more senior position out of it, and am now consulting as basically like a senior data scientist. But I think it totally depends on what you want and what your background is and how you kind of leverage your previous experience with the data science and web development content.
Okay. Because so I have a kind of a spread out background between the culinary fields of 10 years, and I just finished a 3-year program of pharmaceutical and food science development. So being kind of along that lines, what would be more recommended? Because the web development sounds like a very interesting and very what's the word that I'm looking for? It seems more fun and analytical, whereas data science is very much you're looking at, in my understanding, that you're looking at kind of what is doing what is functioning what, and how it all kind of commingles together. Would I be correct in saying that?
I mean, personally for me, Emily, you can feel free to hop in here after, but in the data science stream, what I loved about it is it's about solving problems that are really, really difficult to crack. And so that's sort of why I ended up doing the data science route. And it was also just so that I could piggyback off of some of the data analytics that I'd done previously, but using like some more crude tools like Excel and stuff like that. So that's personally why I ended up going with data science. And to me, it's all about like breaking down a business problem and being able to solve something that, the company that you're working for or the client that you have, they don't have the tools, skills, or knowledge to break it down. So the fun